Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third ever episode of the Detonate podcast. I am your host, Nate Gullion, and I am joined today, once again, by my co-host, Stephanie Pastoroni Ravioli.
Hey, good morning. Or afternoon now. Oh my goodness.
It is afternoon. Hello. Hi.
Hi.
We usually record in the evenings, but we had our own sort of scheduling conflicts, so we're recording a day late, guys. You gotta deal with it. You gotta deal with our tardiness.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. Every time I do that intro, I want to say the third annual one. I'm like, no, it's not this is not an annual podcast. It's a weekly podcast. The third
oh my gosh,
annual
could you imagine
Detonate.
if we had to do this annually? It'd be 3 days. Like 3 days of constant talking.
Just like, okay, let's wrap up all the news of the year. Anything that majorly, oh God. Oh, it'd be awful. That's awful.
Nightmare. It gives me anxiety.
So if I ever say annual, just roll with it. It's not, I promise guys, it's not going to be an annual podcast, but just ignore me.
Oh gosh.
Okay. So, Stephanie, what have you been up to this week?
Really, it's been kind of crazy at work and school and all this stuff. So I've been just kind of playing the regular games. I actually wanted to talk about a game. I forgot about it. There's a new game on Steam called The Foundation. It's kind of like a city building. What is that other game that's like it?
SimCity?
No, what's that one? Oh, Banished? Did you guys ever play that?
I have no idea.
So what it is a game, you're out in the middle of nowhere. And then you start building a little settlement, and then it goes into this huge city. I played that last week for 7 hours straight, and it's in early access, so I don't have anything else to do. Highly recommend this game. It's so good.
I'm very hesitant about early access games because of that reason. I'm like, maybe in some cases, especially, not that that's a story-driven game, but especially in the case of story-driven games, it's almost like I want to hold off till it's fully released. Some games I'm like, let's get in there, let's get started with this. But in some games I'm like, I'm going to hold off until there's like more content, more stuff to do.
That makes sense because it's not glitchy, but it's so it's so brand new that even when on certain buttons, like they haven't unlocked that part yet, it'll say like a long word, underscore, dot, blah, 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 blah. It's like all this gibberish. I'm like, what the heck is that? And yeah, it's like that raw of a new game. And I feel like, it's $20 right now, but that content is going to build up to be worth $20. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I've been playing the hell out of it. I put the 7 hours one day, and then another day, I just needed to kind of like unwind. I played like another 5 hours. I meant to be like, I'm going to play this for like an hour. So it's addicting, and I've already had my money's worth. But if you like those kind of games, I really recommend The Foundation. It's really good.
I'd probably check it out. Those games are oddly, like city building, anything like that. They're satisfying, and they're weirdly so stressful for me. I get like, my anxiety just flares up. Like, I have the game Cities Skylines, and I love that game, but it is a game of there is no just getting by. You can't level out anything. Because you meet one requirement, and then it has like 3 meters in it of like different infrastructure stuff. So it has 3 meters that you have to just always keep all of them up. So once you get one up, the other two go down. And it's like, okay, then I'll get the other one up, and then the other two. It's like, you have to always keep this balance. And what it does is it forces growth on your city as you're doing these things. So like you can make all your city people happy for a little bit, but then more people come to the city, which means you have to have more places for them to live, which means you have to have more jobs. Like
more power,
it is just a
water.
constant, and it just which works out really well. Once you kind of get like a rhythm, it is like you said, it's very satisfying to get that done, but it is you can't just ever take a breather with those games. So I usually like if I boot up the game, I'm like, man, this is a lot of fun. But if I have the game off, I just kind of stare at it going, that's going to be stressful. So
Foundation is a lot more low-key than that game.
Okay.
There's stressful parts where your people are starving.
No biggie, you know.
It gets a little stressful then, but it's easy to fix it. Easy as in like, there's no tutorial or anything, but
good.
It's just, that's the stressful part too. But once you kind of figure out, like you said, that rhythm, and it's a lot, you can tell things a lot faster. Sims is an abrupt, like, your city's out of power. Well, it's not like a power type city. Like, it's just like food, resources, because there's going to be war and stuff soon. Like, you can send out soldiers, but who knows where they're going. So it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. It's a lot less stressful than SimCities for sure, though. So, update. Last time I talked about Apex, I had 1 kill. Now I have 7 kills.
You are doing better than I.
I won a game. I was playing with Gold and Spexy, and the 2 kills I had in that game, I killed the last person, and we won. I actually won a game of Apex Legend. I took a screenshot. You would have swore I won the lottery. I was screaming. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, screaming. I'm like, ah! Yeah, my dogs were like, what is going on? But yeah, that's basically it. Apex and then this game. And
I've been trying to play more Apex. The last game I played of Apex, I'm not good, and my friend I was playing with wasn't good, and we were playing with a rando, and the rando was good and was not happy with us because we all died, and I think the last thing they said was all caps, all separate like messages, like 1-word messages going, please learn to play the game. You learned how to play the game by, you guessed it, playing the game.
Yes.
But that is my only real issue with Apex, is because if you don't have a group of 3, you're gonna be playing with randos, and that sort of community can be very toxic, and I don't care. But there is a part of me that's like, I just wish I could play by myself. Which, actually, weirdly, my friend somehow did. It wasn't his intention. The 2 people he went in with immediately DC'd before he even got into, like, the character selection thing.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So he's just like, I guess I'm just in here by myself. All right. Against like, full squads.
It'd be funny if he won the game.
I guess he has won a game before, but that was not the game.
I can see why. I couldn't do it by myself. I don't think you can. I don't think it's possible. A lot of the time when I'd play by myself, but people immediately leave because they see how crappy I am, and then I immediately die.
Look at those stats.
They're like, gosh, only 7 kills.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad at that game. I love it. I do have a lot of fun with it, but it's one of those things that I only really want to play it when I can get like if I can get a full group together, then I'm like, let's do this. Let's have a lot of fun with it. No problem. I continue to like the game more and more, actually. I actually really like the character Mirage. I know people have mixed feelings, especially because Mirage is not, you have to pay to unlock Mirage, or grind a lot. But Mirage is very attractive, for one thing. Mirage is a handsome boy.
He's a handsome man.
He's handsome.
He's swooning.
But he's got such a funny personality. Like, he's very cocky, but not in a, oh God, I hate this guy, since it's just a funny, very bold personality. The only issue I have with him is he does 90% of his lines, of his voice lines, are something about smell.
What?
Yeah, he'll say like, oh, smells like victory. Wait, what is that smell? Smells like lasagna or something.
That's so weird.
Like, a lot of his lines are about smells. I'm like, what?
You think that, like, his lines would be about, like, something to do with, like, a mirage. Like, I'm seeing something, or you thought I saw that, or, I don't know, something, like, with vision.
It's a joke? Like, and I get, like, the whole humor of, like, because it doesn't, like, the smell of victory is he's just actually smelling yesterday's lunch. Aha. But it's funny, like, the one time, but then a bunch more of his lines are just redos of the same joke. They're just like the same joke said slightly differently. I'm like, haha, it smells. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So that's like the only thing I'm like, that's a little bit weird. But yeah, he's very cocky. I do love being able to send out my little clone to just like run across someone. I'm like, I'm hiding, and I'll just send out my clone and see people like run out after him, and then go after the people that are running after my clone. It's like,
That was my favorite in Halo Reach. You had those kind of things, and that was the one I would always choose, was the like, you could use like a shield or like different stuff, and I would always choose like the clone, and I would send them out, and they would attack it, and then I would shoot them in the back. So shady.
It's so, because when there's people hiding or something, they see you run out and go, oh, I'm gonna get the drop on him, and then they hop down out of their hiding spot, and you're just like, gotcha, B. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. That game is fun. I really like it. I've been playing a little bit of Octopath Traveler again.
I don't know about that game.
It was fairly early on in the Switch lifespan. It's a Square Enix, it's the 2D HD JRPG.
Yeah. Yep, I know now.
I don't know if you saw, they actually, like, they patented the 2D HD formula for a game. So we're going to see more games like that, I'm sure, because they literally like, nope, everybody like this, slap a patent on it.
I don't blame them. I'd probably do the same thing.
The only thing I don't like about it is the textures almost go for a very realistic style, which looks okay, but they just look a little bit muddy at times. I would like them to go from more of a cartoony approach with the same aesthetic of the 2D HD, but let's do more cartoony sprites.
Right.
But that is like a personal thing. Some people are like, no, it's perfect, and I'm gonna get angry comments about that, but I really like the game. I can only take it in short spurts because it is a JRPG, which is a lot of time investment.
Right.
And I've not even gotten past chapter 1. I've put 12 hours into the game, haven't gotten past chapter 1 because chapter 1 is collecting all 8 characters, doing their little intro stories in their starting towns, and then going to the next one and doing their intro story in the starting town, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But I just got the Scholar, who, I mean, when I first heard of the game, I'm like, who's the mage character? I like mages. But then it was like, oh, there's not a mage, but there's a Scholar, and I'm like, yeah, but that's all about books and stuff. That's lame. Nobody told me that he studied magic. Guys, he's a mage. He's a wizard. He's a wizard scholar. Nobody told me that until I went up to him and I'm like, oh, all of his special attacks, aside from just whacking him with your mage staff, is spells. And they're spells that attack everybody. And then you actually get upgraded versions of those spells that attack every enemy with the element twice.
Oh, wow.
And on top of that, the whole mechanic of Octopath Traveler is you have to learn their weaknesses. Each enemy has different weaknesses to certain weapon types or certain elements or something. And just going into a fight with the Scholar automatically learns one weakness for every enemy. And then he actually has a spell that you can unlock early on that identifies another weakness to an individual enemy and stuff. So if you're really trying to learn those weaknesses, he's the perfect one to bring in. And then most enemies have some sort of elemental weakness, which his whole thing is elemental spells. So he pretty much has some sort of damage to every type of enemy. I'm in an icy area now. So you guessed it. They're all weak to fire, and he can just do big fireballs on everybody and just wipe out entire instances at once. And it's so satisfying. He's so OP. And some people don't like him, apparently, but I'm like, nah, this is my new favorite character. Why didn't anybody tell me that he's the best?
Sounds fun.
I'm having a lot of fun with that.
I'm gonna have to look into that game.
I also played some I keep wanting to say Warframe. Wargroove, which I continue to be bad at single player, but multiplayer, where my friends can carry me, I have a good time. What I love about it is the same thing I love about the Mario Maker games, where it lets you make levels and share levels. And not only can you just make your standard oh, here's our map and our standard pieces, so we're just going to move around and these obstacles and whatnot. Because of the tool set they give you, I've seen some very unique levels that people have designed. Some people have made cooperative tower defense levels, and I've seen one that was monsters are going to come across from either team, and if you kill them, then they get added to your team, and it's a tug of war sort of thing. I've seen extremely unique takes on this game, stuff that I just didn't think you'd be able to do, but they gave these players enough tools where they made these very unique game modes out of Wargroove, and I'm just extremely impressed with it. I continue to just have more and more fun with it, and that's why I like Mario Maker, not just because people can make Mario levels, standard platforming levels, but because people make very unique new takes on a Mario level, of what a Mario level could be.
Right.
So I'm continuing to enjoy that, but that's about all I have to say about that. Now that I've gotten through all my stuff, we'll go on to our first topic, I suppose, which is Switch VR? VR?
What?
It's something I've talked about in my streams before, because some people are like, wouldn't it be cool? The Switch has the little slidey thing, so it makes sense that you just slide it into a headset, and then it's a VR device.
Put it on your face!
Just put it on your face! Which sounds cool in concept, design-wise. I'm like, yeah, because you slide the Joy-Cons on it, you could just slide it up into a headset, and there you go. But here's my thing. I've always been so opposed to this idea, because the Gear VR and everything with your phones are extremely high resolution. My phone is 2560 by 1440, the same resolution as my monitor.
Wow.
So when they do that, they have to cut the screen in half, which means half the resolution for each eye. So that's why it has to be such high resolution. Well, the Switch's display is only 720p. So you cut that in half, and that's a really low resolution. That's how you get motion sickness and stuff, and it just doesn't look very good in general. So I'm just like, I don't know how they're gonna pull that off realistically. I'm intrigued, and I would probably pick it up, but just on surface level, I'm like, I don't know how that could look good. But while nothing is confirmed yet, there have been a few leaks. For instance, data miners found a VR app buried in the Switch. So it just needs to be turned on. So there's like literally a Switch VR app built into the Switch. On top of that, the site Go Nintendo cited an anonymous source that they've used in the past and said, like, no, these are a reliable source. They published saying that VR on Switch will initially use the Nintendo Labo. So there's another example of them using the Labo. They included like a concept photo of what it would look like. So you make a Labo and you put the kind of the headset together like Google Cardboard, but they actually showed Joy-Cons on either side of the band where your ears are, basically, for, I guess, added tracking. So not only are you tracking the movement of the screen, but you're actually tracking the movement of the Joy-Con as well, which I could see making it more accurate for movement, but also then what are you controlling the game with? Like, I guess you could have another set of Joy-Con, but I can't imagine them releasing VR where it's like, no, but you have to have 4 Joy-Con from the start for it to function. Like, that seems a little bit odd. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's a concept design, so I don't know if it'll actually be like that. But yeah, they said at least initially, it'll use Labo. We may see something else in the future, but at least to kind of push out the idea of like, hey, try our VR. Yeah, you can do, your kids can make the headset, and then there you go. It's cardboard, it's cheap. That would give them a foot up on the PSVR, because PSVR has a foot up on like PC, like Vive and everything, because it's so cheap. But then if Nintendo could go even cheaper by saying, yeah, but it's like $60. Here you go. Here's some cardboard. Go for it. That'd be crazy.
I'm not a big fan of the Labo. I think it's priced very wrong, in my personal opinion. But if I was a parent, heck yeah, I'd buy that for my kid. Heck yeah, I would.
Especially if it's good VR. To get a reliable VR at that sort of price point would be awesome. That'd be awesome. I mean, I would get it. Yeah. If it's actually good, if it turns out to be good VR, sure, that'd be the VR headset for me. I used to have a Galaxy Gear VR thing, and I played with it for like 3 days. So
oh my God.
It didn't last long, but I feel like the Switch VR would actually have some really interesting games because it's the Switch, and Nintendo loves making really unique, fun sort of titles that I think even with their lower resolution screens and everything, I think they could really take advantage of the interactiveness of the VR, and I think it could be a lot of fun.
I think, though, Nintendo is not known for nice pricing, so I don't think it's going to be for the right price. I'll tell you that. They're not known for really good pricing, except for their consoles. Their consoles aren't that bad. But like games and like extra stuff, I might be a cheapo here, I guess. I don't know. I think I'm just so spoiled with Steam sales and like other games. But I mean, they're kind of proud of their products, which they should be.
Yes.
If you're looking for something that's going to be cheap, I don't think you should go for like a Nintendo VR or anything like that, but it would be very nice if they did do that.
I'm not opposed to the idea. It'll be interesting to see kind of where they go from it. Nintendo actually has a rule where developers have to match the price on their eShop to their physical release.
Right.
So that's why a lot of indies are just releasing digital versions. They have to hike up the price of their physical releases because the cartridges are proprietary and so expensive. So to get their money's worth, they have to hike up the prices for the physical copies. And then in turn, their digital copies also have to be $60. And these indies are going, no, we don't want to do that. So they just don't release a physical release. That way they can have their game be like $15 on the eShop, which is fine. It's kind of a shame because some people do want physical copies. There's games that I'm like, I just want a physical of that.
Yeah, I am with big games like Zelda and all those.
That's Nintendo being like, nope, you gotta make it the same across the board, which I don't think Sony or Xbox do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Microsoft doesn't. They do not do that. I know that for a fact.
So I think that fits in perfectly to what you were saying about Nintendo not pricing the best at times is like, yeah, they made made these proprietary cartridges that these devs have to pay more for, and then they make the devs charge more for their digital versions as well, which, I mean, the devs are getting more money for the sale, but that also hurts their sales because games aren't necessarily worth $60.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't pay $60 for a Stardew game. You know what I mean? Like, in that fact, like, they have their pricing finally, kind of okay, but the thing is, like, Nintendo products, they're so original.
They do a lot of proprietary stuff.
Yes. They really do. And I don't think it's wrong. I think they're a private company. They can do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
But they're very proud of their products. And they should be. So
they should be, yeah. But I'm definitely with you on that. So Switch VR. Like, again, it's a lot of rumors still. There's nothing confirmed, but it's something to think about. That may be something we see in the future, especially because with the way they've been releasing Labo, it lines up that this is around the time of year that they'd be releasing a new Labo, maybe a little bit before E3, possibly, or at E3 to be like, hey, Labo VR. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess we'll go on to our big news topic of the week. Past 2 weeks, Nintendo has been just killing it on news. This one is that Reggie Fils-Aimé, the Nintendo of America president, is retiring.
Aww.
Which I think is kind of sad for a lot of people. I actually had to do research into this because I haven't followed Reggie's work a whole lot, so I had to do more research into him. Sorry guys, I'm not a real Nintendo fan.
Aw.
But did some back research on him. He originally started working for Nintendo back in December 2003. So that's about, 15 years of work at Nintendo total?
Yeah.
He shot to fame in May 2004 by introducing Nintendo's E3 press conference with the opening line of, "My name is Reggie, I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names, and we're about making games."
It's so great.
For Nintendo to allow him to say that is mind-boggling to me, but I love it. I mean, it made a name for him. That was before he was president. I mean, I actually should have written down what title he was at that point, but I didn't. Whoops. He became president of Nintendo of America in May 2006. And then on top of that, here's the thing I really didn't know about him, which is very noteworthy. He coined the meme, "My body is ready," unintentionally.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
That was Reggie Fils-Aimé that did that.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Back in 2007, on July 11th, they were introducing the Wii Fit game with the Wii Balance Board, and they said, okay, we gotta calibrate it to your body and everything, so we're gonna have Reggie come up and do this. And he goes, my body is ready. And it stuck. It became a meme because of that. So, yeah, there you go. He's meme-worthy. And in fact, during the announcement when he said he was retiring, he said, "Don't worry, my body is still ready." So he even referenced the meme. He's such a theatrical personality. Like, he always stole the show. He embraced a lot of the internet memes. A lot of people called him the Reginator, which then in directs and announcements and stuff, they got to play with that a lot. He was a very fun CEO. I don't want to say comparable to Mr. Iwata because he was in his own league, but definitely had that same sort of fun personality. He always encouraged having fun and being happy. Just a really bright personality in what could be a very cold environment of making money and everything. No, he was about making good games and people enjoying them.
Yeah.
I do think it's worth mentioning he did go to Cornell University.
Oh my gosh.
For you Office fans, that is a big thing to mention. We'll miss Reggie very much. It is important to just say how big of an effect he did have on Nintendo. And even in leaving, the fact that he is leaving on good terms. I saw an article, a headline the other day, that said, video game industry in awe that somebody is leaving on their own terms.
Yeah.
And it's funny because last week we had the news about all the layoffs at Activision Blizzard. And it is kind of weird. When Reggie first announced that he was retiring, there was a part of me that's like, okay, but what's wrong?
Yeah, same. I was like, what is going on here? What scandal this time?
Yeah, is there a scandal? What's going on? He said, I'm leaving on good terms. I'm leaving in good health. I'm just leaving because I want to spend more time with my friends and my family, and I want to play more video games. And it's just like, oh.
It's baller.
Oh, okay, yeah, like, good for him. Like, he's earned it. He put in his time. But it is very important to mention who he's handing over the keys to. None other than Doug Bowser. Doug Bowser. And he even said, he's like, oh, his name fits so perfectly. He'll be great at Nintendo. I'm like, have you not played? Reggie, have you not played Mario games because Bowser's the bad guy. He's the like, you don't hand over the company to the bad guy. Except, and I will say, and there have been a few games, there have been a few exceptions where Bowser's like the anti-hero sort of thing. But generally speaking, no. Reggie, what are you doing? What are you doing, man?
Did you see that Twitter? On Twitter when they announced it, he had Mario and Luigi wrapped around together like they were being held hostage with a... It's so good.
Doug Bowser posted a picture of a little sign saying, "Thank you for the warm welcome." And behind him in the background, you see a Mario and Luigi doll tied up with a GameCube controller. It's so like, wait, what? So, I mean, I think we can already see all the memes that are, I mean, you definitely already see where this is going. Yeah. I think Nintendo's going to really embrace it and everything. But yeah, how perfect, if not malicious, is it that a guy named Bowser, the villain of the game series that really made Nintendo famous, like real famous, is going to be president of Nintendo of America?
I think it's going to be great. It's always a nice thing when, like you said, when somebody leaves on good terms. Like, it's going to be an easy transition. They're already having fun. Like, I mean, I remember way back when, one of the first Nintendo type of, like, videos was when he announced the Nintendo DS, and he, like, just casually pulled it out of his pocket. I thought that was the coolest thing when I was, like, a little kid, you know? Like, seeing the DS coming out of his jacket pocket. You know, back then I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but look at this, look at it. I mean, it's awesome. He got to introduce so many nice products, and he was a great face for the company, and we're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss him a lot.
I think it says something that Nintendo, which of course is a Japanese company initially, would typically, that sort of environment leads them where they want to be in control of everything. They want to be the face. They want to say some very specific things about their products and everything. But the fact that Reggie, which is also worth noting, is the first American president of Nintendo of America. I know it's Nintendo of America, but they've been Japanese up until him. So not only did he take a role as an American for the first time, but the fact that he made a big enough name for himself that when it could have been Mr. Iwata the whole time, doing all these announcements and doing all this stuff, they trusted him enough. They knew that he had this very electrifying personality that would reach audiences. There's more to it than him just being a CEO and managing the place. He also was the face of Nintendo in a lot of ways, alongside Mr. Iwata. It's really impressive, the sort of legacy he's leaving behind. It's a weird sort of bittersweet moment. It's not a sad thing. Since I can remember, this has been the face of Nintendo, but he's leaving on such good terms. It's like, oh, good for him. He's just happy. He's living the rest of his life because he succeeded. He succeeded at what he wanted to do.
I don't know if you saw the goodbye video. I wanted to cry a little bit. I was just so excited for him. And I don't think there's ever been like a head of a company that'll be as missed. But he really is a one of a kind, and he would just really sell the game and really hype you up.
I think it's really cool that Nintendo is the company that these are CEOs that people miss. Like, you never hear about people missing CEOs of a major corporation. But the fact that first Mr. Iwata passed away, and I mean, people cried. People cried. And now it's sort of the same thing with Reggie, except it's bittersweet. So, because he's not dead, we just know, like, oh, we're gonna really miss him, but we know that he's going on to have a happy rest of his life. So it's amazing that Nintendo sort of breeds this type of personality inside of its company. These are people that want it to be a really positive place.
Like, we know that Reggie is still going to be kicking ass, taking names, but instead of making the games, he's just going to be sitting back and playing them. So I'm very excited for him.
Somebody said that, they're like, man, if Reggie makes a Twitch account and starts playing through all these major games from the past several years that he hasn't been able to play because of being a CEO, it's like, oh, I'd love that. Like, I would definitely follow Reggie do a Twitch stream.
Oh my gosh, that would be great. That would be so entertaining.
I'm sure he's going to go on to relax with his family and kids and everything. I don't think that would ever happen. But also, Reggie, if you, like, want to go ahead and do that.
I will say he's the most charismatic head of any company I have ever seen anywhere. There
was a part of me that almost would be worried about the company because we did lose Mr. Iwata, who was a big driving force behind the positivity, behind the fun of games. And then we are also losing Reggie, but the fact that they are handing it off to Doug Bowser, who is already just playing with it. I mean, he did before this. I don't know if you saw any more presentations with him, but he wore a jacket during one presentation that said Team Bowser on the back. And everything,
my gosh,
he's
that's
always
awesome.
embraced his name. And I think that says something. There's a bright future for Nintendo yet. This is not the end of Nintendo, guys. Don't worry. I think they're going to have more and more fun. I would love to see them play off of that, where the Nintendo of America CEO is kind of like, oh, I'm the bad guy. Ooh.
It would be so
Whereas
good.
the Japan CEO, like the actual CEO of Nintendo, is like having to fight him off and do the good things for the gamers and everything. I would love to see them play with that.
It'd be great at, like, let's supposedly they have like a new Mario Odyssey and they're like, and then there's this game. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be great if Doug was just like, here we go.
Oh God,
Mario
this guy again.
Freaking Mario.
I beat him this time, I swear.
I thought I was done with you.
I think they could definitely play around with it and have just an awesome, awesome time.
The marketing department for Nintendo must be just like, are you ready?
Yeah, they gotta be like, this is gonna be easy this year.
I know,
like,
the marketing major in me is just like, you could go on so many things.
You could do, there's so much they can do with this. I'm sure he's going to be a great CEO. I mean, there's got to be more than just the name of why he got picked. But let's also be real. That probably did increase his chances of getting picked. Because Nintendo's gotta go, man, this is gonna sell us some games. Like, let's be honest. I'm kind of excited about it being Bowser.
Could you imagine the interview? They're like, okay, can I see your resume? And it's just like, I'm freaking Bowser, okay? I'm freaking Bowser.
Bowser, okay, well, you're hired. Also, what did you do before this? Can we just cover it? I mean, but you're hired.
I did a lot of stuff, and my name is Bowser. All right, you got the job.
Which, it's kind of weird. Reggie actually had, like, a more rich history of jobs before coming to Nintendo, where Doug Bowser didn't. It doesn't seem like he had as much. I may be just not finding as much. But Reggie Fils-Aimé, he had a position as Senior Director of National Marketing at Pizza Hut.
Oh my gosh.
He was in charge of launching the Bigfoot Pizza and the Big New Yorker.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was Reggie Fils-Aimé's work. He was the head of marketing for Guinness Imports Company.
Beer and pizza? Sign me up. No wonder we like him so much.
But he's had, like, such a rich background. He joined MTV and VH1's network in 2001 as senior vice president and left in 2003. But Fils-Aimé was responsible for a 30% increase in ratings for the VH1 network by shifting the channel's focus to appeal to younger viewers. So, pretty much everything he's ever done has been a success. Like, he's just really good at marketing in general. And I think that's why they moved him to the CEO position. He was still a great CEO, but he had that face. He knew how to sell Nintendo products. The fact that back with VH1, he targeted a younger audience for VH1, I think that's one reason why Nintendo picked him up, because it's like, well, you know how to sell to a younger audience, and that's who we're wanting. That is, let's be honest, while a lot of us adults out there are like, yeah, Nintendo! It is really meant to be a younger audience's product. I mean, that's who their demographic is.
Whenever he started, it was when, you remember the console wars?
Yes.
I do know this about him. He started when the console wars were like really going, like Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo.
Yes.
He kind of like broke that barrier by just saying like, hey, we're here to make fun games for everyone. And it was just kind of like an eye-opening experience because everybody was so competitive about like shooting games and everything was just it's like all the games were trying to gear to like a more mature kind of content. And he was like, hey, we're just here to make games. Like, we're here to have fun. And I thought that was kind of a cool little thing about him. He really did channel the younger audience. And he kept that younger audience even like, I'm in my upper 20s now. And like now I have nostalgia about like all these little Nintendo games when I played when I was a lot younger, or my DS, like everything like that. He kept that for me.
He really does embody sort of Nintendo's message. And you're absolutely right. I mean, this was a time when it was the GameCube versus the PlayStation 2 versus the original Xbox. And that was a very tough time because, yeah, Nintendo was losing out. And the fact that he just came into the picture and said, look, I mean, we can talk about graphical prowess and our, the power of our systems and everything. But let's be real. The reason we play games is to have fun. It's just that simple. Let's have fun. So we're going to do that for you. We're going to have fun with our systems and everything and with the games we make. And that has stayed true. I mean, Mr. Iwata obviously did push that as well. I mean, he was a huge part of that, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact that both CEOs had a great push for this mentality of just, let's have fun. Let's have fun. And you're right. It stuck not only with the company, but it stuck with us. There's a reason why the only console I own personally is the Switch. Because even though I have this great, powerful PC that I'm going to play, all my big, powerful games on, I'm always going to fall back on Nintendo for fun.
And that's exactly what Reggie said, because there was another conference they had where he said that there's things about Sony and Microsoft that he didn't like, that there was things that they got on their nerves, but he said he still kind of liked playing those games. And that was a big changing moment too. It's like, hey, we shouldn't just have one console. You can have other consoles. You can play other games. You can do this. But we're going to focus on making fun games for everybody. And I think that's how it should be now. Honestly, I feel like now instead of the console wars, we have like a PC console kind of separation going on. I feel like we're breaking those barriers now with like cross-platforming. But I mean, it's kind of the same situation. Like, let's just play fun games. Let's just have fun. That really just stuck with me. And I appreciate him for that.
Something else very interesting about him was he was one of the first examples of CEOs talking about playing their games. Like, you don't... He seemed so human when other CEOs didn't, because he would talk about like, oh, this is my favorite game. This is what I like to play. Him getting excited. He's like, I'm so ready for this game to come out so I can start playing it. And it's really awesome. Now, I think he played at some Smash Bros. Tournament where he got beaten by some jerk kid or something that was just like, I beat you at your own game you made. And Reggie just was like, yeah, I mean, you spend your whole life being the best at this game. I run a company, so just was not having any of it. Yeah. But even though he doesn't spend his whole life playing Super Smash Bros., he does play the games. We know he plays these games. And he even said at the end of his little goodbye video, he's excited to continue to play more video games. He's leaving Nintendo, but he's going to stay a Nintendo fan. And that's got to be a weird feeling he was in charge of the American branch of this major company. And I mean, at least me, if I left that behind, if anytime Nintendo like came into any sort of issues, I'd just be pulling my hair out like, what are you guys doing? What's happening? What's going on? So I probably wouldn't be able to retire from a job like that. I'd be too stressed just sitting back and watching it all happen, good or bad. But it's got to be a weird sort of perspective of like, oh, like especially if Nintendo starts knocking it out of the park, which I mean, they already are with the Switch.
I'm actually surprised he's leaving right now. Between everything we saw with the Nintendo Direct, so much is coming. It's just insane. So he's kind of leaving at a weird time.
But I think it's a good time for him to leave because he's not leaving when the company's at a low point. I think he's leaving at a time when it's like, I've got this in a place where I feel like they can handle this. As long as they don't fuck it up, it'll be fine. So he's leaving it in good hands at a high point in the company's history that it's feeling good. Back in the day, a lot of high-ranking members of Nintendo took pay cuts so that they wouldn't have to lay off associates and everything like that. Those were low points in the company where a lot of the executives did what they could to keep the company afloat. But this is not that day. This is not that time. The company is doing so well that I think this is the only time Reggie could walk away from the company and feel okay about it. I think if he had left at a low point, he would just be stressing about it, going, I've left them to die. I've left them to die. Whereas because it's doing so well right now, it's like, no, this is great. They're killing it with the Switch. They can only go up as long as Bowser doesn't, bring down the castle. They can only go up, and I think this is good. I think we have a bright future coming from Nintendo. We have so many good games to look forward to. I'm so excited. So, I mean, we've just been repeating ourselves, but it's because it's such an interesting thing to talk about. This man did so much for Nintendo, for the video games industry, for other industries. Like, this is a huge name.
Yeah.
And he's just retiring simply because he's ready to retire.
Good for him. Good for
you,
and
good
Reggie.
for him. We love you, Reggie. It's been great.
You. Have fun.
This episode has definitely been sort of a pour one out for Reggie, but it's
well-deserved.
It's well-deserved. It's well-deserved. We'll definitely miss you, and I'm very glad that he announced it literally the day that we typically record the podcast. Our luck, this would have happened like the day after. I'm like, we'll have to wait till next week. But he announced it the afternoon that we normally record, and then of course we had our own issues where we had to delay.
Yeah, literally as soon as I was like, we got stuff. There's stuff going on. We'll have to do this tomorrow. And what was it? You said like an hour after. An hour after we said that, I was just like, what is going on?
I was just scrolling through Facebook. Just like passing time, relaxing. And I was scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden Nintendo of America is like, Reggie has a message for you. I'm like, okay, what does Reggie have to say? And he says, by now you all know that I'm leaving Nintendo. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? It was just like, it was such a shock. That's how I found out. It wasn't from other people. It wasn't from me. I just scrolled through, and Nintendo's Facebook page was like, hey, by the way, leaving, bye. Like, oh my God.
I had a little thing on my phone. It's like, Nintendo of America is trending right now. I was like, oh God, what's going on? New game? Because I was like, maybe they forgot to say something Nintendo Direct about Animal Crossing.
Is it Animal Crossing, guys? Is it Animal Crossing?
And I looked on and I was like, oh, but yeah, in general, I'm very happy for him.
It's a happy thing. It's a happy moment, and I think it's easy to be sad, but if you take a step back, I think it is just like, this is good. This is a happy time. On to our next topic, Google to unveil gaming project at GDC 2019 in March.
Ooh.
There have been some rumors about this. I haven't dug too deep because I kind of like the surprise. I like surprises. But yeah, there have been rumors going around for a while that Google is making their own competitor in the console wars, which, I mean, they have the money.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I am not not trying to bring up Nintendo again. I promise you this. I'm not going to go on a Nintendo rant. Not rant. Praise, I guess. Praise.
We just like Nintendo, guys. I'm sorry. Don't
Nintendo
at me.
Nintendo bliss. But I'm not really about consoles. So this was kind of like, meh. Like when I read it, I was just like, well, I guess that's just another thing to, rant about.
That's sort of it.
I know that sounds very negative.
No, I totally get what you're saying. I'm not hugely into consoles either. Again, Nintendo's the only one nowadays that still has me hooked.
Yeah.
But I'm interested, if only to see what it's going to do. Because, again, like I said, Google has the resources. They've got the money and resources and theoretically the know-how at this point to make a huge competitor for Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft. This could be the next big thing. It could be the next Ouya, but this could be the next big console. And even though I'm not really into consoles at this point, I'm very interested to see the route they're going to take. I don't think they're going to go for the fun direction of Nintendo. I think they're going to go for powerhouse sort of thing.
That's what they do. I'll be honest with you, I just don't really like Google company in general. They do a lot of shady things, and I guess that's where my warning lights are coming on. They're doing stuff with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't remember. They're doing some kind of like partnership with them. That's pretty much the only thing I read about. And the name of it's like Yeti or something. So I don't know. They're doing like some kind of streaming service or something. I guess we'll find out more on the 19th. So we'll talk about it that week. But
I do think that'll be a very noteworthy mention. That may be our big gaming topic of the week, just because if this is the next big console, that's to bring another competitor in the ring. This hasn't happened really since Microsoft, I think. Because Sony came in and Sega kind of faded out, and then Microsoft came in, and this is a big deal. For years, it has just been Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo at the forefront of gaming. And you're right, Google is not. That's, I think, a big point when looking at, do I want to buy this new console? Google has to make something really worth it, because I think a lot of people do view Google as this big evil corporation, and I don't personally really want to support them, especially after the whole, I don't know if you guys know this, Google owns YouTube, and they haven't exactly been in gamers' favor lately. So
yeah.
Especially if they turn this into, well, if you do games like reviews and stuff off of our products, we'll favor those YouTubers. They can do Let's Plays and stuff, but these other ones, like this has a potential to be a huge conflict of interest.
And we were going to talk about this topic next week. I won't really get into it, but there's a lot of changes coming to YouTube. And I kind of wonder if it goes along with the new gaming project. So my heart aches a little bit. I'm just kind of like a little anxiety about it.
It's definitely big news, but I am hesitant. Like, I don't know how to feel about this because it could be really awesome. It could be an awesome new console, but the fact that suddenly YouTube, the company that owns YouTube, is also going to own a video game system, potentially a major video game system, where if they don't like the reviews going up about their games, they just go, well, we're YouTube. Mm-hmm. We'll shut that down. We'll just shut that right down. Who's going to stop us? We're YouTube. So there's such a potential for a conflict of interest there. And I mean, people can say that, oh no, people will stop them. It's like, well, people haven't really stopped YouTube yet, have they? No. I think YouTube is dying away to a certain extent, but it still doesn't have a direct competitor.
It doesn't, and that's
the problem.
Like, I'm very much an advocate for free speech, even if I don't agree. I'd rather them be able to say what they need to say, even if I don't agree with it. So, and Google has not been a company to really take that type of attitude, and I think it's a little scary. So if they do something along with YouTube, I wonder if they do like maybe a YouTube gaming kind of thing. Maybe you can play through a browser with them. I don't really know what they're trying to go to, but it'll be really interesting to see what's going on and see if maybe they're integrating something with YouTube and gaming, or YouTube, or...
Integration itself is not bad. That could give them a leg up on the other companies. Having this direct, if they build a streaming service, like if they build this console around streaming or something where it's like really integrated well, and you have all these cool new features and stuff that you can only get with this console, that is going to give them a leg up on Twitch, because then suddenly YouTube gaming will be a lot bigger from that.
And there's games on Twitch that do, like Twitch Sings, a lot of their games like that, they do have really good integration. But it's just, I feel like Twitch is maybe a little behind, and maybe Google decided that they wanted to do something like this too.
I think they could.
You have Mixer, and I think you have another one, but Twitch is it for streaming. And then you have the YouTube, the live streams for that. But it's kind of interesting.
I'm very interested to see where it's going to go, because I see a lot of people even jumping ship from Twitch to stream on Facebook.
Oh, I forgot about Facebook.
Yeah. Blows my mind that, like, oh yeah, people stream on Facebook. Okay. And I'm not gonna lie, I've even looked at it in the past. I hate to say this, but I do bleed purple. There's something about the Twitch community that I really just I just don't think I could ever abandon them.
I couldn't do that.
But there is statistics that back up Facebook as a viable place to stream from. So I don't know. It's just very intriguing. It's something I really want to look into. Yeah, especially because we just don't know much. I mean, it's all rumors. It's all just going around in the rumor mill about Google's game console. But yeah, GDC in March, we could be finding out the next big name in video games and what that means for streaming and YouTube. This could kick YouTube into the dirt even further, because it's already, people are like, oh, not liking YouTube too much. So this could, especially if they do try to pull some favoritism with their game console and stuff, that could really piss people off, and people could really abandon YouTube altogether at that point. I wouldn't be surprised. Or if they handle this diplomatically, they could just ruin. I mean, Microsoft is already teetering, I feel like Microsoft to a certain extent is kind of abandoning the Xbox. I could be wrong. I mean, there's been rumors about the next console and everything, but just the moves they're making, I almost feel like they're just going, okay, let's just focus on PC.
Which would be kind of smart for them, honestly.
I think it would. I think they can make a lot of money off of PC and everything if they just push that. Whereas PS4, we're already getting rumors. I didn't put this down. PS4, we're already getting rumors about the PS5.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I saw that last week.
Which is so weird that we're already getting some big stuff. Specifically, they're talking about backwards compatibility, which I don't know if y'all know. When the PS3 first came out, it came out with backwards compatibility, and nobody bought it because it was so expensive. That's why it was so expensive, was backwards compatibility. So I think it was the second or third version of the PS3, they tore out all the guts that made it backwards compatible.
I had
so
the
that
first
it could be cheaper.
PlayStation 3, and it was probably, besides any Nintendo console, it was the one I played the most because of that feature.
Some people really embraced it, but just the general public kind of just like turned the nose up at it because they went, that's too expensive. And that's fair, but that's why they tore that out in the first place. So it's kind of weird to think that like they're talking about backwards compatibility back to the original PlayStation. We're talking PS1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 games, all available with native support to the PS5. That would be a huge deal.
Another reason why people didn't buy the PlayStation 3 too is they didn't really go for the backwards compatibility because it did come out so fast that there was not a lot of new games. So that kind of took that little momentum there behind. And yeah, I just think if they could literally just come out with like maybe a few new titles and really hold on to the fact that they're doing the backwards compatibility, I think people will buy it so fast. And it'll be whatever they charge, you know, that PlayStation's always a little bit more expensive than any other console. And if they hold on and really hone in on that backwards compatibility feature and really try to sell it, I think it'd be a really good benefit for them profit-wise.
There's a lot of interesting things coming up in the console wars. I think we can definitely agree that like, ooh, this is about to get good. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. That is all the time we have for today. We were on a tight schedule, unfortunately, so it's probably a little bit of a shorter podcast, and I'm sorry for that, but we should be kind of back to our regular schedule next week.
Yes.
So, Stephanie, where can we find you?
You can always find me on Twitch TV /Pastaroni Ravioli. I'm also on Twitter, Pasta Raviolis.
You can find me, Nate Gullion, everywhere pretty much at Nate Gullion. I'm twitch.tv/Nate Gullion. I'm youtube.com/users/Nate Gullion. And that's where you can find all the Twitch VODs and this podcast. Then I'm also twitter.com/Nate Gullion. Like, it's unified branding. It's that easy. We do have an email, detonatecast@gmail.com. That's where you can send us your questions. If you want to ask us some awesome questions, when we get them, we will answer your questions live on air.
Ooh.
Also, if you do that, please give us a name to use, because I don't want to just use your like real name or whatever your email address is for privacy reasons. So please remember to leave a name for us to use, whether it's your first name or whatever, as long as it's appropriate. If you don't leave us a name, we're going to just call you Gary. Boy or girl, you're going to be Gary. Just telling you now. Then also, if you want to support the podcast, a great way for you to do that is to head over to patreon.com/Nate Gullion, because this does cost money for us to host. We should have it hosted here pretty soon out of my own pocket. But if you want to help support the podcast yourself, patreon.com/Nate Gullion. I think that is all for the podcast today. So I will just say goodbye.
Bye.
Next time on the Detonate podcast.
Nate, there's a Tom Nook in my boot.
In your boot? But that he's selling houses out of your boot?
Yeah, this situation stinks.